Welcome back everyone, look at these colors today. I think my shirt is the same color as this orange here. Now today we are making a simple beef stew. It's a one-pot recipe and I like to call this the kind of set and forget type of recipe. So if you're able to mix a few ingredients together, you will be able to make that beautiful stew. So of course we've done beef before, but today we're gonna add some more flavors that are a bit more like the modern style of stews that people are doing in France. Because I do a lot of classic stuff, so what about the newer stuff? So this particular recipe used the old-fashioned red wine stock, but has got an infusion of orange, thyme, cloves, and honey. So as you can see, plenty of interesting flavor, but it is a super simple recipe, and on top of that, it's absolutely delicioso. Let's go. Now the reason I'm saying delicioso is because this is the meat we're going to be using, and this is commonly known as osso buco, which is like that Italian translation of the bone with a hole. Of course there's no hole here, but if you remove the marrow, if you were to push the marrow out of there, you have the hole in there. Now this is simply a chunk. Okay, so you can use veal chunk, beef chunk, or a pork chunk. If you know what a chunk is, it is a part of the leg that is just cut like this, and you got that kind of effect. For the ingredients, of course, everything is listed in the video description, but you're gonna have to pre-cut a rough chop of parsnip, carrot. I've got some onions, we're gonna use some tomato paste, I've got my cloves, my thyme, my stock, my wine, my orange. I'm gonna use a little bit of flour, and for the cookware, of course, the simple Le Creuset pot, and it's a bit of the workhorse of the kitchen. So gather all the ingredients, prepare everything, and when you're ready, we'll go straight on the stove. Now let's start. So on the stove, we're gonna have to first color the meat. So you're gonna put the meat with salt, pepper, so good seasoning, and we're gonna sprinkle some flour over. And you're gonna repeat the same process for each side. So for each bit, you kind of remove the excess and don't put a mountain of flour on there. It's just lightly dust it. Once your meat is ready, the only thing that needs to happen here is to take a good cooking pot. I like to use cast iron, 2 tablespoons of oil, and you're going to have to brown your meat first, and make sure your oil is hot enough. And do it in batches. If your pieces of meat like mine are really large, it's no use to overcrowd your pan. So take your time, about 2 or 3 minutes on each side, just to get a nice brown color. And you're going to repeat the process for each piece of meat. Alright, so my last piece of meat here is brown. I'm going to reserve it on the side, and the hardest part of all is done. When your meat is out, immediately you're going to put the garlic, the onions, the carrots, and I've got here my turnips. Low heat, and we're going to leave this to sweat. If there's not enough oil, you can add a little bit of oil, and if you want, butter, but oil is best because otherwise butter might burn. Now look at these colors. So all what we're doing here basically, we're trying to extract the water from the vegetables, and they're going to be blending with these caramelized meat juices, and that's going to be the base of our sauce. So you're going to leave them to cook maybe 2 or 3 minutes. That's about it. After 2 or 3 minutes, we're going to add all of the tomato paste in and mix well. Okay, so the fact of cooking this in here is just to kill the acidity. Then you can pour the wine in, and we're just going to deglaze. And we're going to start to slowly detach the juices, these caramelized juices, and incorporate to the wine. So we're just going to reduce this for a few minutes to make sure we kill the acidity off. Yummy, look at this. Anytime you add red wine into anything, it starts to look good. So after the red wine, immediately we're going to pour all of the stock in. Very simple. Once it's in, we're going to wait for the slight boil or the simmer to come back. My bubbles are back in, and now for the fancy stuff. Branch of thyme, a few cloves in here, like 4 or 5 cloves, and of course the orange peel. Now, the orange peel, do not overdo it. One like this, even a smaller one, is fine. Okay. And finally, about 2 or 3 tablespoons of honey. So I'm just putting a good squeeze, and that should do it. Don't overdo it because otherwise it's going to get too sweet. And then just stir the whole lot well, and we're going to add the meat back, and that's going to be it. And here we are, so my simmer is back. All what we need to do now is to take the meat. So this is one of the pieces. I've removed the bone because there was too much. And I'm just gonna gently place my meat back in my juices here. Once your meat is back in the juices here, the recipe is basically done. What needs to happen now is to cook the meat. So I'm gonna put a lid on and I'm gonna leave this to cook on a simmer for 1.5 hours or longer until the meat is cooked. I'm saying or longer because if you have small pieces of meat or larger, the time can vary, but roughly speaking, 1.5 to 2 hours with a lid on, very, very low heat. That should do the trick. So when it's cooked, I'll show you the result. All right, so I virtually turned my heat off. I've cleaned the edge of the pan to make it presentable, and I've just put this straight on here. I was watching television and look at the result. This is what I mean by the kind of set and forget. So to know when it's cooked, it actually took me a little bit more than 2 hours. When the bones detach, you see the bones? Like they're on their own, but look at that sauce. I mean, look at this. Look at this. I've done virtually nothing. This is a nice, thick and beautiful sauce. Now, I'm just gonna try to have a bit of have a go at the meat. So taking a fork here, one of these forks, look at this. See the meat? The meat detaches on its own, and even with my fingers I can virtually it's hot. I can virtually cloves and orange. Wow, cloves and orange, that thing, wow, super interesting. Now, so I've got the taste of the the actual basic French sauce, a bit of red wine, the stock, but that orange peel with the cloves, wow, something. So now I'm going to show you, what we really do in France. I went and get some bread. So to know if your sauce is good, you take a nice piece of bread and you're going to dunk this in the beautiful, no, look at this. Look how it's coating. Oh, let me try that. Well, I tell you what, absolutely wonderful. Now, like I said, French cooking is not always difficult, and I think this is a reflection of one of these set and forget dishes. I virtually did nothing, put my ingredients, leave this to cook, and now I'm going to be serving this. I think I'm going to make pasta like tagliatellis, and the meat is falling off the bone, and it's going to go nicely with the pasta. It's going to be coating the pasta. You could use rice or potato, but I think pasta with that dish would be absolutely beautiful. And that's it, guys. That completes the recipe of the week, and that's a typical example of what we would eat in France. And that simple dish, you put it on a table with side of pasta, rice or potatoes, a loaf of bread, and there you go. It's all about the taste in France, about the taste, how things taste, and this is a beautiful dish. So if you make the recipe, as always, please comment in the video description. You can show me your pictures on Instagram, hashtag French Cook Academy, and we've got a giveaway this week. We actually managed to make a small, easy recipe ebook, free to download if you subscribe to our newsletter. So I'll put the link in the video description. All what you need to do is to subscribe to the newsletter, put your email, and you will receive an email with the link, and you have a free ebook. And it's a bit of a first. I'm trying to get a recipe into books to see how it looks like. So have a look at the ebook, tell me what you think, what can we improve, and perhaps, who knows what the future brings, and maybe some more books coming our way. But that's it for me. I'll see you all next week. Take care all. Bye bye.